Welcome to Hackdown 2020, presented by the College of New Jersey's Data Chapter of Kappa Theta Pi. With COVID-19 and quarantine in place, we wanted to provide an environment and create an event where a community of hackers can come together and pour their creativity and innovation into one collaborative project. So let's get started. Here are our social medias to get more information about TCNJ Hackdown 2020. Our website is hackdown.net. On Instagram, we can be found at TCNJ Hackdown. And then for Facebook, just search Hackdown 2020. All of our platforms relay information on the schedule for October 31st and November 1st, so be sure to check those out. More importantly, please make sure that you're joining our Discord, as I'll be the primary outlet where announcements, event updates, and social events will take place throughout the weekend. So if you do have any questions or concerns about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us on Discord. Hackdown 2020 will be hosted with the help of Zoom and Discord on October 31st to November 1st. We expect nothing but a fun and eventful weekend where you have the chance to meet some of our very talented and resilient students on the spookiest day of the year.
Thank you all for taking the time to attend Hackdown 2020. Whether you're participating to win amazing prizes or attending for our workshops, networking events, and social events, we encourage you to make the most out of this weekend. This is an opportunity for you to network with students with similar interests as you from all over the country. So I know I'm looking forward to meeting every single one of you, and I hope you are too. Now that we know what Hackdown is, let's meet the faces of who organized this event. So first up, we have the Executive Director, Swanik Shirodkar, Logistics Director, Sarah Lim, that's me, Public Relations Director, Courtney Lee, and then we have Finance Director, Michael Mangelli, and then the two Hacker Experience co-directors, Nisha Reddy and Kevin Williams. So thanks again to them for helping us organize this event.
This event would not have been possible without the continued help and support from all of our sponsors and community partners, so we'd like to take the time to recognize all of them and say a special thank you. Our sponsors for Hackdown 2020 are Linode, JetBrains, and TCNJ Student Finance Board. Courtesy of Linode, hackers can use the code HACK20 to receive the $20 Linode credit that they can use to utilize the Linode platform towards their hack this weekend. JetBrains additionally will be providing all hackers with the ability to apply for individual licenses to get free access to all of JetBrains' professional development tools in order to help them make their hack. Specific information regarding all of this, as well as a swag pack that Linode will be sending out to all hackers, will be provided in the Discord after opening ceremony. And the community partners are TCNJ Makerspace and John Kaipoff, our advisor. Thank you again to both all of our sponsors and all of our community partners for helping us make and create a wonderful event.
And last but not least, thank you to our keynote speaker, Lori J. Miller, for taking the time to speak to us today about her personal experiences in the technology industry throughout her years. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lori J. Miller.
Thank you, Sarah, for that wonderful introduction, and thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be back at TCNJ, at least virtually. I did graduate back in the late 90s, and I loved it there. I love the campus and the people and the extracurricular clubs, and I'm so glad that Kappa Theta Pi recognizes the importance of staying connected in the midst of this odd time that we find ourselves in, called 2020. But you have an opportunity to put a new idea into action. The bad news is, there's a lot of bad news out there these days. Our way of life has been turned inside out and upside down. There's so much inequality, inequity, and insecurity. If there is any good news to come from all of this, it's the call to action that can begin to drive each of us to realize a better world. And don't try to fix everything all at once, but pick one thing. That's exactly what you'll be forcing yourselves to do today so that you can present your best idea on Sunday. Will you choose to create an idea for one of the 3 prize categories, or will you solve another problem and win the random prize? Whatever you build, let's think about what it takes to make it great. With 20 years in designing experiences professionally, I'll share with you what the best designs have in common. They make something that delights users and, importantly, allows the company that makes the thing stay in business. Let's take that one bit at a time. You make something. This means that the technology actually works and it scales. That is, you can keep up with the increasing demand and update it as you learn new things. And sometimes the technology inspires a new idea. Just make sure that that solution solves a problem or somehow makes lives better. That's where understanding your audience comes in. When you solve a real problem for people and do it in a way that feels effortless and surprisingly helpful, they will spread the word. Thanks to social media, it doesn't take very long for good products to get a lot of buzz. But what is the barrier for entry for your user? Does it require revealing a lot of personal information up front? Do they have to pay? If so, how much? How often? That's the business model's consideration. What does it take for us to be able to delight users and keep up with the demand? Smart people and advanced technology. And how do you get those things? Money. You build a business model that is self-sustaining. Look, I didn't make any of this up. I've seen this Venn diagram drawn so many times in training sessions and presentations that I've lost count. It's so ubiquitous I can't even find the original creator to source. But it spoke to me, and I think it's the best way to summarize what it takes to make a great product or service. Well, that and a little bit of luck. So here's something I can credit to the source. An ancient Roman philosopher known as Seneca the Young didn't really believe in luck. Things don't just happen to you or for you. You have to be prepared when the opportunity taps you on the shoulder. And I get where he's coming from. I also believe that every moment of your life, whether you're paying attention to it or not, is preparing you for where you're going. If you have a kernel of a sense of direction for your life, a purpose, a calling, you'll be able to feel that tap on your shoulder when it comes. My career has been a series of opportunities that I didn't even realize were happening for me at the time, but I embraced them without really knowing where I would end up. I didn't have a clear sense of exactly where I wanted to go. I did have a long list of things I did not want in my life, and I started imagining what my life would be like without those. So I realized I wanted financial security and a quiet mind. I wanted to enjoy the company of friends and family without wondering how I would pay for my slice of pizza or my tickets to the movies. I wanted things to be simpler. I wanted peace of mind to come with much less effort. And this nebulous sense of betterment drove me. I want to take you on a journey that led me to my career as a user experience designer, a woman in technology, and a service leader. Let's start way back in the early 90s when I was in high school in Woodbridge, New Jersey. Now, since I believe none of you were born in or remember the 20th century, let me paint you a picture. There are no smartphones and no Wi-Fi. The internet and email are very new, and websites can't yet stream video. GPS was not a thing, or at least not for civilians. So we had these paper maps, and we'd follow road signs when we were going somewhere new. And if we got lost, we had to pull over and find a payphone to call our friends. Cell phones technically exist, but only very wealthy people had them. My family was not rich. We were working class through and through. My mother taught third grade at the school down the street, and my dad worked shifts at the chemical plant. We had one car, and it usually started. When he worked the 3 to 11 shift, my mom would wake me up, put me in the car, and we'd drive the 5 minutes away to pick up my dad. I was usually asleep across the bench seat in the back within a few seconds, but I'd wake up as we hit the gravel road and rocks would bounce off the undercarriage of the car. I still remember hearing the whistle blow, followed by all the men coming out of the plant in their navy blue coveralls. My grandpa got him that job, and he also got it from my Uncle Ronnie. My uncle did not enjoy working at the plant, so he goes to night school and he gets his first college degree and starts applying for jobs that require a suit instead of coveralls. He trades in his blue collar for a white collar when he lands a job at Mitsubishi. His discounts there afford him home electronics that were so cutting edge for the time. He's the first person I know who has a personal computer, a VCR, and a camcorder. He's my hero. And it's because of him that I get my first home computer, dot matrix printer, and a VCR. Now the VCR, it was top loading and programmable. If there was a power outage, the display would blink 12 o'clock at you until you reset it. And if you had programmed it to record something, you had to start all over again. But these were the best hand-me-downs ever. And it was proof positive that getting an education would lead to better things. My mother instilled in me that I would go to college like she did. She's a TCNJ graduate from 1964. So not going to college, not an option. So I had to start thinking about a major. At the end of sophomore year, math was the subject that I enjoyed the most. So I thought I'd probably become a math teacher. But in junior year, my school offered me and a few other students who were good in math to join an independent study in computer science. I was flattered and extremely curious. I'd become pretty good at using the computer at home, but what would it be like to learn how to program them? I was intimidated, but I gave it a whirl. We programmed in BASIC, and the stuff my teacher had us doing was focused on writing math equations and doing simple command prompts and vector-based drawings, literally plotting lines between 2 points on the screen in each line of code. And we had Apple IIe's and we had TRS-80s, all command line language and floppy disk storage, no graphical user interfaces like Windows. I thought it was easy, and computers were less intimidating to me anymore. I didn't think I could do a whole lot with what I learned, but I learned a lot about computer science being a great field of study that could lead to a lucrative career. At about the same time, I insist that my mom join the rest of the modern world and try to use the word processor on the computer. I tell her whatever she types, she'll be able to print it out again whenever she needs it. And if she makes a mistake, she can just backspace and correct it on the screen. No more whiteout. She's dubious, but she tries. She attempts to use the word perfect tool to create a list of her students instead of using our typewriter. But the commands are so complex. Now, you would do your best if you memorized the keystrokes needed to make things lay out in a certain way. She does not know these commands. I try to teach her, and I realize that I've become pretty adept at this new world, and my mother is having culture shock. After we put it together on screen, then we have to print it. And you'd have to load the dot matrix printer, which includes lining up these holes in the guide rails, and it just gets jammed often. But after we're done, she can't understand why this is supposed to be better than using the typewriter and her Ditto maker at school. It seemed to have taken twice as long, had an extra step of typing, then printing, and in the end, she's distressed, and this experience brings her to tears. It's at this moment that I feel called to make computers friendlier, easier to use, and basically to help my mom not feel so defeated. So I applied to college, but we kept it within the state to keep the college loans down as much as possible. And I didn't know this at the time, but in 1992, if you want to be a computer science major and you're a woman, you are a rare species. I had my pick of any school in the Great Garden State. 3 Rutgers schools, Drew University, and Trenton State, now TCNJ, all accepted me. I loved the low student-teacher ratio at TCNJ, and the idea that my mother graduated here too made it an easy decision. Coming here was my first experience in witnessing professional women leaders firsthand. I learned how to code, and I continued to be a great student. So these women took me under their wing. Since there were only 3 women in our class of 30 computer science students, they took a special in the 3 of us. They helped me to connect with jobs on campus in technology, first in hardware, installing Ethernet cables, troubleshooting bad video cards, replacing keyboards and such. Shortly thereafter, I was one of the youngest lab managers in Holman Hall's computer science labs. It was my first job in management, making the schedule for fellow students who would sit in the lab to help people who had trouble with their computers. And after proving myself in the classroom and in the campus employment, They got me an interview for my first internship at Janssen Pharmaceutica, which is a Johnson & Johnson company in Titusville. I gotta tell you, I was so excited to be making double the minimum wage. This would be my pathway into a career. But they had higher hopes for me. They wanted me to follow in their footsteps and get a doctorate in computer science. Now, since I wasn't introduced as Dr. Miller, you might guess that I did not go that route. During my classes, I found that I could program a computer in quite a few different languages, but I couldn't picture myself programming for a living. Getting the parentheses and the semicolons in the right place often tripped me up for hours on end. And while it was so triumphant when my code worked, it didn't seem like the payoff that I really wanted. I wanted to make computers easier to use. I wanted my mother to stop crying. I wanted basic routine tasks that people had to do become less repetitive and cumbersome. I wanted to build efficiency and share knowledge. I wanted to imagine how the system should work and not get mired in the ones and zeros. But since they hadn't steered me wrong before, I looked at the website they pointed me to. They said it was the #1 computer science school in the nation. It's called Carnegie Mellon. So while I was looking at the different options within the School of Computer Science, I learned about this new program called Human-Computer Interaction. It was only in its 5th year as a master's degree program. This was a brand new multidisciplinary field that combined cognitive psychology, computer science, and visual design. And the way I read it, I could stand at the whiteboard and demonstrate how I wanted the software to work, and then someone else on the team would make it come to life. It was exactly what I was looking for. But I didn't have the money. I went to college to get a white-collar job and be self-sufficient. I couldn't collect more debt by going to another 2 years of school. I had to get a job. I started working at Johnson & Johnson Healthcare Systems soon after graduation. It felt like a proper white-collar job that was allowing me to practice something new, website design. Mainly, I translated HR policy documents from Word to HTML while also ensuring that the intranet server was up and running and always fully patched. My boss's name was Sherry, and she was such an encouraging manager. She got me this name plaque that said Web Mistress, a new way to make the masculine and unintentionally racist sting out of webmaster and change it to a woman in a position of power. During my first year there, we had a conversation about where I wanted my career to go. I told her I wanted to design software that just worked. I told her about the program at CMU. She said, "That is so you. You have to do that." I was hesitant. I needed to save up money for a year or two so that I could afford to go. It's a private school out of state, and the year-long program would cost almost as much as my 4 years of undergrad, not to mention room and board. But she told me not to wait. You'll get a loan. You have to do this. There's no opportunity like that for you here. You need to go where people are doing this work. Find your mentors. Find out how to turn that into a career. So I went back to my desk to find out what it even would take to apply. The deadline for the 1999-2000 class was in 2 weeks. I hadn't researched other schools or visited the campuses or anything. Besides, there's no way I can get an essay and a letter of recommendation together in that short a time. I had to mail it in, by the way. Online applications were not available just yet. Sherry convinced me to try anyway. She said the worst thing that happens is you don't get in, and then you can do all that proper application stuff next year, and you'll be more prepared the second time around. So I reached out to Dr. Anderson from TCNJ. She had worked at CMU, and I thought of all my professors, her recommendation might carry the most weight. She jumped at the chance to help me and was excited at the idea that I might go. I found out later that she also knew the dean of the HCI program and gave her a call. It was all a blur, but I was moving to Pittsburgh just a few months later. CMU lived up to my high expectations and then some. The master's degree program was aimed at getting you back into the workforce as soon as possible. With 3 back-to-back semesters and a project-based graduation requirement instead of a thesis paper, I was on my way to find my first job as a user-centered designer. What Sherry said stuck with me. I couldn't go back to J&J in the safety and comfort of a salary with a long-standing corporation. I had to find work in this new field, and I had to find people who were already succeeding at it. I had the privilege of working for 2 small consulting firms where they focused on improving the user experience. I learned quickly and earned a management position within 10 years. It would not have happened without all of the people that guided me along the way. And now I have the privilege of being a leader. And 2 years ago, I met a wonderful woman named Courtney who entered into my team as an intern. And it was through that connection that I got the privilege of meeting all of you today. She told me about this wonderful organization that she's with now. And I want to thank Kappa Theta Pi for organizing this event and giving us some sense of normalcy amidst the unconventional circumstances we're living in. This was my first introduction to KTP, and I'm impressed by the benefits its members gain, including social growth. Everyone participating in this Hackdown is making connections, improving their technical skills, and growing socially. Take this time to get to know at least one new person. You never know who will make a difference in your life or whose life you can make better. Sarah, why don't you tell us about these social events happening this weekend?
Thank you again, Lori, for being our keynote speaker for this year. Your story was absolutely wonderful, and it was inspiring and motivating for me to hear, especially during these times. So I really appreciate you coming out to talk for Hackdown this weekend. So a hackathon is not just only for coding and building things. We have integrated fun social events for this weekend for more opportunities to connect with your peers. So when you all need that break from coding and creating, here are a few events that you can look forward to.
The first social event will be games pulled from the Jackbox Party Pack. Within Jackbox, there are several games to choose from, so what will be played the day of will be a surprise, just adding on to the Halloween spirit.
So the second social event we have planned is the infamous game of Among Us. With the Among Us app coming to a rise during these past 2 months, we just wanted to incorporate a game you're all familiar with, so I hope to see you guys all there. In addition to the social events, we are hosting a networking event, and the networking event will be through Zoom at 7 to 8 p.m. on October 31st, hosted by our own finance director, Michael Mangelli. The event is called Speed Networking, and here you will have the opportunity to connect with students outside of your teams in breakout rooms for 3 to 5 minutes. This is a chance for you to meet a potential professional or social friend, and more information and all of the links for both social events and networking events will be posted on our Discord.
In addition to the social events are workshops. We have 3 events planned this weekend, so let's take a better look at what they are. The first workshop is User Journey Mapping from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Learn how to apply a user-focused lens to your hackathon idea. This workshop is designed to help you develop and define your ideas for users and their goals, and you'll be able to map their experience using your product. This is a great workshop to learn how to actually demonstrate your idea to the judges.
So for our second workshop, we have the introduction to Arduino software given at 3 to 4 on October 31st by John DeGood. So here you will learn more about the Arduino software development environment through an introductory tutorial and a live demo given by Professor DeGood.
Lastly, our third workshop from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is solar radiation data visualization. In this workshop, you'll explore how you can create data visualizations through some lines of code and how to create 3D physical models to represent them. There will be a walkthrough of an existing project that helps us explore and understand our fascinating planet, and this project was inspired by the curiosity of sun radiation and how different it might be depending on your location on Earth. You can use this workshop to learn how to take code and visually represent it in a tangible 3D model.
So all fun and games aside, this is what we all have been waiting for. Throughout your hard work this past weekend, we obviously want to recognize your efforts with amazing prizes. Each prize will be associated with a category, so let's go check them out. So our first category is the best sustainability hack, and whichever team can create the most eco-friendly project will receive a Kindle. Our second category is the best healthcare hack, and with the COVID-19 pandemic as prevalent as it is, winners who can create the best healthcare technology to push towards improvement in the medical field will each win a Google Home Mini. Our next category is the best social justice hack, and the 5 principles of social justice are access, equity, human rights, diversity, and participation. Best implementations of these social justice principles in your projects will win a mini projector.
Our next top prize is the best random hack. Be as creative as you want. Projects have no boundaries, and if you've always wanted to develop a project that might fit into any of the categories you mentioned before, you and your team will get a chance to win a Fuji Insta-X Polaroid and accessories. Next up, we have the best beginner hack. In order to qualify for this prize, this must be the first hackathon that all members of your team have attended. Hackathons are a learning experience, and the team who comes out with the best beginner hack will get the chance to win an Elgu Uno Project Super Starter Kit, included with an Arduino IDE. Next up, we have the best Halloween hack. Anything spooky, creative, and fun qualifies. One idea could be a great hack that trick-or-treaters or houses giving out candy can use, especially during COVID-19, or you can create an app to host a costume contest virtually. The possibilities are endless. Winners of the best Halloween hack will be able to choose their own 8-inch Halloween Squishmallows. Lastly, our final prize of this weekend is the best overall hack. With the compilation and all the great prizes and ideas this weekend, the best overall hack impressed the judges the most. Each winner will receive a Holy Stone 2K GPS FPV RC drone. After talking about these prizes, I'm extremely excited to see what amazing projects everyone comes up with. Be as creative and innovative as you want, and don't be afraid to push these boundaries. A hackathon is here for you to push yourself in ways that you cannot in a classroom setting, and we're all here to learn and help each other in whatever way possible, so don't be hesitating to ask for help. This is your chance to build something that you've always wanted to, but not alone. Not only do you have the opportunity to win incredible prizes, we also encourage you to network and meet new friends that will potentially last a lifetime. Overall, we hope that everyone has a great time this weekend, and we wish everyone the best of luck. Again, thanks again for participating in TCNJ's Hackdown 2020.